Be me, 26, waycuck in some soul-licit department. Not a total neat, but my social battery is basically a potato with two wires stuck in it somehow. Against all odds, have a GF? Let's call her Stacy. Stacy was the complete opposite of me, sunshine in human form, touchy-feely, with a capital T and F. We're talking 1010 GF material for a guy who's used to the cold embrace of his computer chair. We meet through a mutual friend a couple of years back and hit it off immediately. She thought my awkwardness was charming and mysterious. Little did she know it was just weaponized autism. First year was pure bliss, anons. She liked something out of a normie rom-com. Every morning I'd wake up with her plastered to my back, one leg thrown over me like I was a life raft to get home from work. She'd meet me at the door and jump into my arms. Every single time, watching movies meant she was basically a human octopus, all limbs wrapped around me. I'd be trying to focus on John Wick gun fu, and she'd be tracing patterns on my arm or playing with my hair, constant hand-holding, little kisses for no reason. Cuddling on the couch until we both fell asleep. My affection-starved brain was on overdrive. Felt Goodman. JPG. She was my anchor to the real world. She'd drag me out to see friends, go on hikes, try new restaurants in my world, which was previously 50 Shades of Grey computer monitors, was suddenly in Technicolor. I loved it. And I loved her for it. I was genuinely, unironically happy. A feeling as alien to me as sunlight is to a cave troll. Then, about 6 months ago, things started to change. It wasn't a sudden thing. It was slow, insidious, like a creeping frost. It started with the mornings I'd wake up, and she'd be on her side of the bed, a good foot of empty space between us, the demilitarized zone. I started calling it in my head, so. At first, I thought nothing of it. Maybe I was snoring, or hogging the blankets. I'd just scoot over and wrap an arm around her. She wouldn't pull away. Not at first, but she wouldn't meld into me like she used to. She'd just lie there, stiff as a board, until the alarm went off. And the after-work hugs at the door became a thing of the past. She'd just shout hey from the living room. Eyes glued to her phone or the TV. Movie nights became a strategic exercise in maintaining personal space. I'd sit down, she'd sit on the other end of the couch. If I tried to put my arm around her, she'd lean forward to grab her drink or just a pillow on. It was subtle, but it was a rejection all the same. The hand-holding stopped completely. We'd be walking down the street and my hand would just hang there, useless and stupid, next to hers and stupid next to her. It felt like I was a ghost, like my touch didn't register anymore. My brain, my stupid over-analytical brain, went into overdrive. My inner autist fired up the diagnostic tool's initial hypothesis. She's cheating on me. It's the classic sign, right? Withdrawal of affection means she's getting it somewhere else. I started watching her like a hawk, checking her phone when she was in the shower. Nothing. Just endless group chats with her friends and pictures of food on Instagram. I'd ask her who she was texting, and she'd just say Chloe. Her best friend had checked out. Chloe was always texting her. I felt like a scumbag for even looking. I started paying attention to how she acted around other guys. My best friend, Chad. Yes, his name is actually Chad. A cruel twist of fate. Would come over. She was perfectly normal with him. Friendly, but not flirty. Same with guys at parties or friends get-togethers. She wasn't paying anyone else any extra attention. If anything, she seemed more withdrawn from everyone. Not just me. So. Hypothesis #1 was a bust, which, honestly, should have been a relief. But it just made me more confused. New hypothesis. It's my fault. Maybe I'd let myself go. I started working out more, trying to eat healthier. I bought new clothes. She didn't seem to notice I'd come out of the bathroom after a shower, wearing the new shirt she said she liked. How do I look? Fine, she'd say, not even looking up from her laptop. Maybe I wasn't being romantic enough. I planned a surprise date and I went all out. Bought tickets to a concert she wanted to see. Made reservations at a fancy restaurant. She smiled, said it was sweet. But the whole night she felt a million miles away. I tried to hold her hand during the concert, and she pulled it away after a few seconds, saying it was sweaty at dinner. The conversation was stilted, forced. I felt like I was on a first date with a stranger that night. I tried to initiate intimacy for the first time in weeks. She gave me the classic "I have a headache. I'm just really tired," the final nail in the coffin of my confidence. I rolled it over and stared at the ceiling for hours, the DMZ between us feeling like the Grand Canyon. My anxiety started to manifest in weird, obsessive ways. I literally made a spreadsheet. I'm not proud of it. Columns for date, affectionate gesture initiated by Enon, her response, and notes. It was pathetic. 10:15. Tried to hug her from behind while she was doing dishes. She tensed up and said I was in her way. 10:17. Complimented her dress, she said, "Thanks," without making eye contact. 10:22. Put my hand on her knee during a car ride. She shifted in her seat and moved her leg. The data was conclusive. My relationship was dying, and I was documenting its death in Excel. I finally broke down and talked to Chad A. I showed him the spreadsheet. He looked at me with a mixture of pity and horror. "Dude, you need to just talk to her. For real. No spreadsheets." He was right, of course. Our normie advice is normie for a reason. It's usually correct as so. I sat her down that night. My heart was hammering in my chest. "Stacy," I said, my voice cracking like a pubescent teenager, "we need to talk."
That line never leads anywhere. Good, what's going on?
"You seem distant. Did I do something wrong?" She wouldn't look at me, just stared at her hands, twisting a loose thread on her sweater. "No, it's not you," she said. "I'm just stressed. Work has been crazy." It was the most generic bullshit excuse, and we both knew it. Bullshit excuse, and we both knew it. That's it? Just stress? I pushed. "It feels like more than that. It feels like you don't want me to touch you anymore." A tear rolled down her cheek. My heart shattered. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I don't mean to be like this. I'm just going through some stuff right now. I just need some space." Oh, what the hell was I supposed to do with that? Space, I asked. "We live together. How much more space do you need?" She just shook her head, unable to explain. The conversation went nowhere, and we went to bed in complete, suffocating silence. My mind went to darker places. What stuff was she going through? My paranoia flared up again. But this time it took a different direction. I started noticing how much time she was spending with Chloe. They were always together. A girls' night at Chloe's became a weekly, sometimes twice weekly, thing. That we're texting constantly, and Stacy would angle her phone away from me whenever I was near. A new, terrifying hypothesis formed in my autistic brain. Maybe she was into Chloe. Was this whole relationship a lie? Was she just using me as a cover? It seemed insane, but what else could it be? It would explain the lack of interest in me, the secrecy, the constant need to be with her best friend. I felt sick to my stomach. I started analyzing their interactions. They were close, sure, but best friends are rare. But maybe I was seeing things that weren't there. A lingering hug, a shared look across the room. My confirmation bias was working overtime. I was driving myself crazy. Caught in a spiral of suspicion and self-doubt, I became a ghost in my own. I'd come home. We'd have a silent dinner. She'd text Chloe. I'd go play video games to escape the crushing awkwardness. We were roommates, not partners. The silence was deafening. This went on for another month. I was a wreck. I wasn't sleeping. I was barely eating. My performance at work was tanking. I felt like I was losing my mind and the love of my life. All at once, I decided I couldn't live like this anymore. I needed answers, one way or another. Even if the truth destroyed me, it had to be better than this limbo. My plan was simple, and in hindsight, incredibly stupid. I told Stacy I had to stay late at work for a server migration, a project I knew would take all night. She seemed relieved. "Oh, okay. Would be safe." Chloe was thinking of coming over to watch a movie. The perfect. My trap was set, of course. I had no intention of staying at work. I left at the normal time, parked my car down the street, and walked back to our apartment complex. I felt like a PI in some cheap noir film now. In some cheap noir film, my plan was to. I don't know what my plan was to. I don't know what my plan was to. I don't really. Listen at the door. Gee. It was slightly ajar. Stacy was a stickler for locking the door. She always had been sure. My mind immediately jumped to the worst possible conclusions. A home invasion? Was she hurt? Or was it something else? Did they get so caught up they forgot to lock it? My heart was pounding a drum solo against my ribs. I pushed the door open slowly, quietly. The apartment was dark, except for a sliver of light coming from under the bedroom door, and I could hear something and not talking, not the sound of a movie. It was a soft, rhythmic, rustling sound and a muffled, whimpering cry. It was Stacy. My rage and fear and paranoia all coalesced into a single white rage and fear. This was it. I was about to walk in on her with Chloe. My whole world was about to end. I took a deep breath, braced myself, and threw the bedroom door open. What the hell is going on in? My voice died in my throat. The words just evaporated. My brain simply could not process what I was seeing. Oh, whoa. It was full jaw, not with people with. Stuffed animals, hundreds of them jaw. Every surface was covered. Giant teddy bears, the size of a grown man, were propped up against the walls of piles of smaller plushies. From cartoon characters to realistic-looking animals were heaped on the floor like furry, colorful snowdrifts. The entire bed was a sea of soft, inanimate bodies, and in the middle of it all was Stacy Cheshire on the floor, curled up in a ball, clutching on the floor, curled up in a ball, clutching her body shaking with silent sobs. Chloe was there, kneeling beside her, rubbing her back, trying to comfort her. She looked up at me, her eyes wide with shock and a little bit of fear. The scene was so profoundly, surreally bizarre that it broke my brain. It was like walking into a child's fever dream. I just stood there in the doorway, my mouth hanging open, the angry words I had prepared turning to Ashinan. "What are you doing here?" Chloe asked, her voice barely a whisper. Stacy looked up at me, her face streaked with tears, her eyes filled with a terrifying cocktail of shame, fear, and despair. She clutched the teddy bear tighter, as if it could protect her. I thought, I stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence. "You thought she was cheating on me, didn't you?" Chloe said. A hint of accusation in her voice. I couldn't even deny it. I just nodded dumbly. Chloe sighed, a deep, weary sound. Just. "Come in and close the door. Sit down." I did as she said, navigating through the plushy minefield, and sitting on the floor, a few feet away from them. The silence was thick, broken only by Stacy's ragged breaths. What is all this? I finally managed to ask. Stacy wouldn't speak. She just buried her face in the teddy bear's fuzzy head. Chloe took over, her voice soft and sad. "Do you remember Stacy's mom?" she asked. "Of course," I said. "Her mom had passed away from cancer about a year before we met. It was something Stacy rarely talked about. A year before we met. It was something Stacy rarely talked about." Chloe continued. "About 7 months ago was the anniversary of her death. It hit Stacy really, really hard this time. I vaguely remembered her being down around that time, but she just brushed it off as a bad week. She was going through some of her mom's old things," Chloe explained, "and she found him." She pointed at the brown bear in Stacy's arms. That's Barnaby. Her mom gave him to her when she was 5. It was the only thing that made her feel better. She started sleeping with him again. I looked at the bear. It was old, its fur matted in places, one of its button eyes loose. At first, it was just Barnaby," Chloe said. "But then, it started to grow." She said Barnaby seemed lonely. So she bought another bear to be his friend, then another, and another. It was a coping mechanism. a way to deal with the grief she had never fully processed. She started buying them online, going to thrift stores. It became an obsession. She felt safe with them. They don't ask anything of you. They don't judge you. They're just soft. My mind was reeling, trying to put the pieces together at a distance. The lack of affection. The lack of affection. Why didn't she tell me? I asked, my voice cracking. I would have helped her. I would have understood. At this, Stacy finally spoke, her voice muffled by the bear. No, you wouldn't have, she sobbed. It's crazy. I'm a grown woman who sleeps in a bed full of stuffed animals because I miss my mommy. It's pathetic. I was so ashamed. I didn't want you to see me like this. I didn't want you to think I was broken. The reason she stopped being affectionate with me, it wasn't because she didn't love me. It was because, in her grief-stricken mind, my touch felt complicated, demanding, human. The stuffed animals offered a simple, unconditional comfort that a real person couldn't. My attempts at intimacy probably felt like a pressure she couldn't handle, a reminder of a normal life she felt she couldn't live up to anymore. She was pushing me away to protect her secret, to protect herself from the shame she felt. All the secrecy with Chloe. It was because Chloe was the only one who knew, the only one helping her manage this bizarre, heartbreaking obsession. They weren't having an affair. Chloe was helping her hide the evidence, storing bags of plushies at her own apartment until it overflowed. All the anger and suspicion I had felt drained away, replaced by an overwhelming wave of sadness and empathy. This woman I loved was in so much pain, and I had been completely oblivious. Worse, my paranoia had made me part of the problem. Adding to her stress and isolation, I slowly moved closer, navigating around a light noise. I sat down next to her, not touching, just being there. Stacy, I said softly, you're not broken, you're grieving, and you've been doing it all alone. She looked at me, her eyes searching my face for any sign of ridicule or disgust. She didn't find any. I wasn't disgusted. I was heartbroken for her. I love you, I said. And I'm so sorry I didn't see that you were hurting. I've been so wrapped up in my own head, thinking you were leaving me. I've been an idiot. I reached out, not to her, but to the bear she was holding. I gently stroked Barnaby's worn-out ear. He seems like a good listener, I said. A small, watery smile flickered across her lips. It was the first genuine smile I had seen in months. Chloe, seeing that we were finally connecting, quietly got up. I'm going to go make some tea, she said, and slipped out of the room, leaving us alone in the plushy paradise. We sat there for a long time, in the quiet company of 1,000 glassy-eyed creatures. I eventually told me everything about the crippling waves of grief, about the comfort, the softness and weight of the toys brought her, about the shame that ate her alive. I just listened. I didn't offer solutions or platitudes. I just listened to the woman I loved lay her broken heart bare when she had cried herself out. She leaned her head against my shoulder. It was a small gesture, but it felt monumental. She was still clutching Barnaby, but she was leaning on me too. We decided together that she needed to talk to a professional. It wasn't going to be a quick fix. The mountain of fluff surrounding us was a testament to that. The next few months were hard. She started therapy. We slowly, carefully, started to clear out the apartment. We didn't throw them away. She couldn't handle that. We boxed them up and put them in a storage unit, a place she called the Plushy Sanctuary. She kept Barnaby, of course, and a few others, a small, manageable council of elders. There were nights she still needed the DMZ in the bed. There were days when a hug was too much to ask. But slowly, ever so slowly, the frost began to thaw. One evening, about a month into her therapy, we were sitting on the couch, watching a movie. She was on her end. I was on mine. The usual setup. Barnaby. The bear was sitting between us halfway through the movie. She picked up my hand. She didn't say anything, and she just intertwined her fingers with mine and held on tight. My heart did a goddamn backflip. I looked at our hands, then at her. She was already looking at me, a real, genuine, sad but hopeful smile on her face. She brought my hand to her lips and kissed my knuckles, and kissed my knuckles. Turns out my girlfriend didn't stop being affectionate because she was cheating on me, or because she was secretly gay, or because I was a fat slob. She stopped being affectionate because she missed her mom, and her heart was so full of grief that the only thing that could even begin to fill the void was an army of stuffed animals. A life is weird, and on. She in love, real love, is even weirder. It's not always sunshine and cuddles sometimes. It's sitting on the floor of your bedroom, surrounded by a literal ton of plushies, and just holding the hand of the person you've chosen to be weird with. And honestly, feels better than ever, man. JPGJ.